right? Clearly, yet again, technical difficulties. So we're doing a video and we'll post this for our families to see. Like I said, we have folks still looking at the comments and being able to interact with you after the video is posted. So please feel free to jot questions in there. Look in there for some resources as we talk about different things. So one of the questions was asked is, how can families support their student at any stage of their UD journey? So I think one of the things that I want to reiterate is a lot of the messaging that you heard at New Student Orientation about how the role of a parent or family member changes when somebody goes to college. And we use that analogy of a car, saying that when students were starting in their education, you were driving the car and taking them where they needed to go, and they gradually gained more independence, and sometimes they started to drive the car of their education. And now we're at a point where we expect them to be the driver, but you are still there supporting them. We use the analogy that maybe you're the GPS. We definitely said you're not in the trunk, but you are there supporting them, providing guidance, giving information, and making sure you're up to date on all the information that you have so that you can be the best support that you can be. And once again, I'm going to reiterate the Family Resource Guide and Calendar that you received at New Student Orientation. If you're like, oh no, I lost that, one, we'll have some of the extras at the family send-off if you're a new student family. Also, it's on the Office of the Dean of Student website, so you can find it online as well. Other thoughts about how they can support kind of their entire journey?
Yeah, so I would definitely just affirm that, and one of the reasons we even take time to invest in connecting with parents is because of our strong belief about the role parents have in the student's educational journey. And so there are going to be times that it's going to feel like your students are not listening, or they don't want you to be part of their educational journey, and you know your students best, you know how to react in those moments, but I would just want to really affirm that parents are an important part. You know, I think naturally one of the things you could do is just be tuned into the academic calendar. The reality is we see it all the time. There's kind of cycles of stress on campus. Those usually come around the large exam times, midterms, finals. So if you can be tuned into that, sometimes it is helpful for then you to know what might be the context if your student calls during those times and is in fact sounding stressed. That's really normal on campus. We see more students during those times. Certainly, they reach out for support, which is great, but just know that that's normal. So being in tune with what those things are happening on campus is a great way for you to support your student.
Great. We got a really technical question, and that is, what is a registration hold? Really what a registration hold is, it prevents a student from being able to register for classes or to change some things around their transcripts. And the main reason that those are put on a student's account is because they have some type of business that they need to attend to with the university. So it's not that they're in trouble, it's just that they've missed a requirement and we need to get that addressed before we move forward. Some common things that lead to registration hold. One, immunization forms. You heard about immunizations at New Student Orientation. If you haven't turned those forms in, get with Student Health Services, make sure you get that. That will lead to a registration hold. Two, for our new students, you have some education things that you need to complete prior to coming to UD. Our Alcohol EDU program and our Haven program about understanding sexual misconduct and our policies around that. So if you don't do those online programs, you would also have a hold on your account. And then the last thing is that maybe you have a financial situation that needs to be cleared up. Sometimes advisors will put them on there if they need to speak with you about next steps. So please make sure that you address those things. But a lot of times, if you have a hold, it'll say who you need to contact, and if you have questions about it, you can call us and we'll get you to the right office. Oh.
Yeah, I think also a technical question, but closely related. For a lot of new families who are joining UD, there's often questions about the student health insurance plan. So we just want you to be educated about this. We require every student to hold a certain amount of health insurance. We believe that that's in their best interest and keeps them safe. And so what you'll see is that insurance is billed to every student, but you can waive out of that requirement if you as a family are carrying that you're dependent on the insurance. And there's processes to do that. And
the big thing is you have to waive out of that requirement
correct.
by September 10th. That is the last day to make a registration to your changes to your registration at UD. So that's what we call the free drop ad deadline. So September 10th is when you need to make sure you waive out of that. And you were sent a bright or you were sent information about that prior to coming to UD, and they can follow that on the website. Just look for University Health Plans on the UD website, and you can learn information about how to waive out of that if you have insurance already in place. This is probably a question that Jose and I get asked a lot, and how we have these conversations, especially from parents. What about UD being known as a, quote, party school? And what do we think about that, and how is that being addressed on our campus, and how are we having conversations around that? So what are your thoughts, Jose, about that?
Yeah, so the Division of Student Life is certainly one of the leaders on campus in thinking about student culture and advancing student culture, and we are excited that how we are recognized as a party school is declining, and that's for really good reasons. We're proud of the fact that our binge drinking rates are dropping at the university. Our students have been really good at providing us feedback around this issue, and so many of our students really feel strongly that our image as an institution is so much wider and has so much more breadth than simply being a party school, and that really ultimately undermines who we are as an institution. You know, we really take a community approach to this, and there are lots of partners that are involved. We work closely with the city of Newark. A lot of the programming that you will see deployed throughout the year to engage students is really done as a means to make sure that students know that they have options of how they choose their free time. And what we find is that our students respond well to that. We actually work very closely with getting data and feedback from students, and we create opportunities that we believe students are going to attend. And so we're not doing that in a vacuum, and so students are even an important part of the solution as well.
I think one thing that we always want to discuss around this topic, around alcohol, substance use, is the university's amnesty policy. Especially, it's also a state policy too. So we really want students and their families to know that if your student is ever in a situation and they feel like somebody needs help, maybe they have consumed too much alcohol, or they have used drugs to a point where they're concerned that this person might have a very serious medical problem, we don't want the fear of getting in trouble to be a barrier to getting someone help. So if a student is in that situation, we always want them to do an active call for help. Dial 911, go get the RA, whatever that is. You know, we want, if you see a UDPD officer walking, doing patrol, wave them down. That active call for help and getting somebody what they need to be safe is the most important thing for us. If a student would have a violation of our alcohol or drug policy and that active call for help has been made, when they would go to meet with the student conduct office, there would be a lot of conversations about the choices that led up to that, conversations about how you would make different choices, and then we would only apply educational sanctions. So these are sanctions that are designed to have students look at their alcohol, drug, and other use within the context of what their goals are as being a student, as being a future professional, as being an adult, and really focus on this well-being aspect of that rather than a punitive sanction directly. So that active call for help is really what you need to make sure that we're getting people into that amnesty process, because we don't want people to not help somebody who is in need, especially if they've overconsumed or are having a bad reaction to a substance. So always talk to your students to call for help if something is going to happen.
Yeah, and I would add, you know, parents have a role here in really establishing and keeping open lines of communication with your students. So we really encourage you to ask them what they're doing with their social time, get to know names of who their friends are when you're on campus for Parents and Family Weekend or football games or other opportunities. You know, ask to be introduced to their friends. It's a good way of you being involved in their social life. What we find is that students often misuse substances really because it's a manifestation of stress or something else going in their lives. And so we do a lot to engage students in educating them about healthy ways to de-stress and healthy ways to think about their wellness. And in fact, this year we're really excited to announce we are, as part of the academic calendar, going to have a day where we suspend all classes. This is going to be in October 11th, and it's officially going to be known as Blue Hen Recoop Day. And it's going to be a day that, as a full community, staff, faculty, and students, we come together to think about our well-being and to think about our own personal wellness. And so we're going to be marketing this heavily to students and having them engage in some things that hopefully raise their consciousness about how it is that they do cope with their stress and the many pressures in their lives.
Right. And another thing that Jose mentioned that we definitely want to highlight for this video is our Parent and Family Weekend that's coming up in October. Lots of information online about that. We'll have the link for Parents Weekend in the comment section. I know this is going to be a tough weekend for some of you as you leave your student here on campus for the very first time, but don't worry. Just like you have a firm cutoff date, you have a date that you're we want you to come back to campus. We want you to engage. Every college that students are enrolled in are doing some type of programming so you can meet administration in their colleges and their majors. Of course, we'll have a Blue Hen football game that families are welcome to attend and other events. The website has a list of everything. I know some events are sold out. It's hard being popular. It's just tough. But there's tons of free and open events that families can still attend. And we look forward to welcoming them back into Newark in October.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So our last question, Jose, is what is your number one top tip, pro level tip for UD families?
My top tip really is to enjoy the ride. I think, when we have the privilege, and so many of our colleagues on this campus have the privilege of seeing students come in as what they are, and really we sometimes joke about this, but there's no magical time when this transition happens that all of a sudden they're college students. So typically we say, really, you're dropping off high school seniors on our campus. And then we get to watch them over 4 or 5 years to blossom into these amazing scholars, into folks who are leading just incredible change initiatives in their communities, folks who are inventing things alongside their faculty members, all types of impact, quite literally all across this globe. And so I would say enjoy that ride. I know it is stressful as a parent at times when you're not sure what's going on with your student, but I would say try to enjoy the fact and hopefully take a step back every once in a while and see how they have grown from the time when you have dropped them off for this amazing experience.
That's a great tip. I think for me, my number one tip is to know the resources that exist here at UD, not only for your student, but also for yourself. On the Office of the Dean of Students website, there's a link, a parents and family link on there that has a lot of information. But we know that a lot of times your student is not going to ask us questions, or really anybody who works here and wears a very bright gold name tag. What they are going to do is contact you. And you need to be there and hopefully help guide them in the right way and really encourage them to re-engage with the university, maybe problem solve for themselves a little bit and have them lead that conversation. But you having that knowledge and really the best way to help them get connected is going to go light years for them, and they will appreciate that in the long run.
That's great.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we really are very, very excited to have spent this time with you. We will continue interacting through this page, and so if you have questions, feel free to throw them out. We want to wish you and your family best wishes for just a wonderful academic year, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you feel like you want to talk to somebody.
Absolutely, and go Hens.